Patrick came, he was going to be the starter. Ed accepted his role, and he really challenged Patrick. I mean, he put it on Patrick in practice. You know, Ed was very physical, but we had a very selfless team. A lot of people took different roles, even myself. You know, I had led the team in scoring, but obviously I was going to get less shots, you know. So, but for us, it was all about winning, and it was always us against the world. That was our mantra. I mean, we felt that everybody was against us. You know, they were calling us thugs and this, that, and the other, and you know, all kind of racial connotations, and so we felt it was us against the world at that time. But you know, the selflessness of each individual player and how we challenged each other. I mean, we would practice so hard against one another. There would be fights in practice, but after practice, you know, it would be cool. We would just go on as we always would. But you know, Patrick came in, and we had Gene Smith on the team. He was a great defensive player, another DC legend. With the interesting, you mentioned Ed Spriggs. I mean, Ed Spriggs was working at what was it, the Postal. Coach Thompson recruited him. He was working for the post office, and Coach Thompson walks in and see this 6'9" guy back there working. He was like, "Man, do you have any eligibility left in college?" And Ed had 4 years left, so Ed was like 4 years older than us at the time. And Coach Thompson, you know, he has an eye for talent, and he brought Ed over to Georgetown, and you know, we couldn't have been as successful as we were without Big Ed kind of controlling, because he would keep everybody in order if anybody stepped out of line. So, but that was a tremendous year. Obviously, it didn't end the way we wanted it to. We felt we were the better team. We kind of flew through the regionals and ended up playing Carolina, which, you know, we should have won that game. We all, you know, looking back at it, you know, we had a few mistakes at the end that cost us the game, but overall, man, what an achievement for Coach Thompson. He really put Georgetown on the map. You know, everyone, you would see these actors wearing Georgetown. Ice Cube and all these guys adopted the Georgetown colors, and you know, we were kind of like the Oakland Raiders of college basketball. I mean, because you know, we played physical, we were rough, you know, and we didn't apologize for it. Coach Thompson wouldn't allow us to apologize for it. So, man, looking back on it, I mean, it was just a blessing to be a part of that program and be under the tutelage of Coach Thompson. I mean, you know, there couldn't have been a better script for myself, and I definitely made the right decision. Didn't have an opportunity to play with Patrick and all the other great players there. We really made a mark. You know, people still remember that till this day. So it was a great experience.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Final Four you played against Louisville. You beat them in that national semifinals. Talk about, you know, that game actually to advance.
Right.
Talk about beating Louisville.
Yeah, actually, to me, that game was tougher than the championship game, because all of the athleticism that Louisville had on their team, with a good friend of mine, Derek Smith, who passed away. You know, Rodney McCray, the McCray brothers, Louisville had Jerry Ease. They had an amazing team, and they were just as athletic as we were. You know, and obviously they were very well coached. They was ranked very high, and really we got up for that game more than the Carolina game, because we felt that they threatened us the most at the time. And that game was nip and tuck. We were able to pull it out at the end. I think we only won maybe 4 points, or it was very close. And but that game was very physical. Definitely could have went either way. But to me, that was a more challenging style of play than actually the Carolina game, which was more of a faster paced game. And you know, we were able to advance to the championship game by beating a very, very, very talented Louisville team.
Okay, so you played North Carolina. Obviously, they, you know, blue blood. You know, your squad trying to establish yourself as a blue blood yourself. Talk about the preparation aspect, getting ready for them. And obviously, you couldn't be in all of them because you already was establishing yourself as a power in the Big East. But talk about the preparation aspect of that game, because that game was like the last of a dying breed in a sense, because there was so many freaking NBA players like yourself, Worthy, Jordan, Ewing, and Perkins. But talk
Yes.
about that magnitude of that game on
Right.
March 26th, I think March 29th, in St. Two. Actually, it's the 40th anniversary of that game.
That's
Talk
right.
about that game. Looking forward to that game.
Yes. Yeah, that game, and like I mentioned earlier in our interview, that James Worthy and I grew up in Gastonia, North Carolina together. So we grew up playing against one another since we were in junior high. So it had a special meaning being able to go up against him. He representing, the Tar Heels, and me representing Georgetown. So it was great for our little town. We brought a lot of publicity to that little town because of the championship game, making it to that level. But you're right, with James Worthy and Sam Perkins, who were the two leaders of the team at that time, along with point guard Jimmy Black. And, Michael was a freshman at that time, so he really, uh, he just wasn't a focal point at that time. As you had to take account for James Worthy and Sam Perkins and Jimmy Black. Uh, and although Michael was so talented, he hadn't really taken the lead role of that team just yet. And to me, it's still maybe the best championship game of all time. The way Patrick was dominating, the way Michael played, the way James Worthy, who got MVP, I think he scored 28 points in that championship game. I played very well in the championship game. It definitely could have went either way. Then you had the two legendary coaches going up against one another. They were very good friends, Coach Thompson and Dean Smith. Um, so it had a lot of intrigue and a lot of interest on so many levels for that game. It was entertaining. I mean, it took James Worthy having an outstanding game just to beat us by one. Um, Although we played well, we did, as I mentioned. I know Fred Brown unfortunately made a turnover at the end, but he had a great freshman year. He was a great player. Uh, and as Coach Thompson said, we win together, we lose together. One play doesn't decide a game. And so we supported Fred during that time and after that time because he was a great player out of New York, the Bronx, New York, uh, very competitive. But that game really, I think, established Georgetown as one of the national powers. And as you can see, after Alonzo Mourning, Dikembe Mutombo, and Allen Iverson, and all the host of players that Coach Thompson has put in the NBA, has been tremendous. So we definitely made a mark, and we're trying to get Georgetown back to that level. And I think Patrick is going to be able to do that. We're looking forward to him bringing Georgetown style of basketball back.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You did your part. Obviously, you hit the go-ahead basket. That's the thing. Because imagine, Jordan doesn't make that shot. Get a rebound, when the clock out, hit free throws, whatever. You would have been the hero because you made the go-ahead basket. That's what gets overshadowed. You hit the go-ahead shot to make
it
with
7 seconds on there. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's an amazing shot. So that functionally you ended your career not winning championship. So now fast forward to the NBA, you get drafted by the New Jersey Nets. From North Carolina. Talk about that, and also what teams were you interested in playing for? Obviously, you can't control who drafted you, but were you surprised that the New Jersey Nets drafted you?
Yeah, because Golden State, they were interested in me throughout the draft process. I knew they were going to take me if I was there. I think they were picking number 14 right behind New Jersey. And I think New Jersey never led on that they were interested in drafting me. So I had no idea that they were going to take me. So anyway, they ended up drafting me at number 13. And I went there. I think I played there half a season. And there was an opportunity for Michael Ray Richardson, who was at Golden State at the time, who was a legendary New York player. Was interested in getting back to the New York area, and Golden State made that trade and brought me out there halfway through the season, and pretty much saved my career, I think, because Golden State put me in the starting lineup right away, and I was able to develop, make mistakes on the court, and really, what the NBA comes down to, a lot of guys are talented. They just need an opportunity, and sometimes some players don't get that opportunity for whatever reason. But most of the guys, if you get drafted, you can play. You just need opportunity to get out on the court, make mistakes, not get yanked out of the game every time you make a mistake, and you get an opportunity to develop and become a very good player. So I was ecstatic to get traded to Golden State, and uh, the way I found out that I was traded, I was in Atlanta. We were playing the Atlanta Hawks, and uh, I get a knock at my door about 1 a.m. From Coach Larry Brown, and I opened my door, and he says, "You've been traded. You got to be in." I had to meet the team in Kansas City the next day, and that's how I found out that I was traded. It was like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and being a rookie in the league, it kind of woke me up to the business of the NBA. It's like, this is not fun and games anymore. It's all about business, but really, I think it really saved my career. I was able to start out at Golden State, and I ended up playing out there for about almost 6 years, and it really saved my career because it really gave me an opportunity to get out on that court and really make a name for myself.
Okay, so now you're Golden State Warrior. I want to fast forward to the '87 season. Your signature game against the Lakers, a team that will win the championship. You scored like 29 points in a quarter and 39 points in a half. I think that's still record. You scored 51 points against that Lakers team. Talk about that zone you was in against that Lakers team in '87.
Yes.
That first cool.
Right. Well, actually, first of all, I'm surprised that record is still there with all the amazing scores throughout the league over 40 years. You would think it would have been broken by now with the Allen Iversons and the Kevin Durant's and Steph Curry's. That record still stands. But that year, we were going up against the Los Angeles Lakers, who were a well-oiled machine. They had Kareem and Magic and James Worthy and Michael Cooper and all, obviously Coach Pat Riley. They were tough to beat. But the series before playing the Lakers, we were down 0-2 to the Utah Jazz. And that's back when it was the best 3 or 5 in the first round. And so we had to win 3 straight against Utah, against Karl Malone and John Stockton, that crew. We had to win 3 in a row just to get an opportunity to play against the Lakers. Now, throughout the regular season, we always played the Lakers very, very well because we were an up-tempo team as well. We had guys who can shoot, Chris Mullin and Purvis Short and all these amazing shooters. So we were a high-scoring team. We just wasn't, at that time, as good as the Lakers across the board as a team. But that particular game, they were beating us about 14 points, going into the fourth quarter. And at the time, I had a hurt hamstring, so I wasn't at full strength during that series. And I just looked over at the bench, and I saw the guys on the bench talking trash, and it just pissed me off. And then the Lakers were always, they talked a lot of trash, especially if they were up. They would talk trash. They would be out there laughing. And, man, I went to Georgetown. We don't stand for that. So I look, I know I could score on anyone on their team, but I was the point guard. I was a facilitator. I had to set guys up. I had to run the offense and make sure, our team was working we were working cohesively. And, but it just pissed me off. And I said, I'm going to take it to the hoop every time I get the ball. And I did it the first time. I got to the basket, did it the second time, and at that point, I didn't remember anything because I just, like you said, I got into that zone and I wasn't thinking about the play ahead of me or the play behind me. I was just in that moment. And when you're just in that moment, you're not thinking about failure. You're not thinking about success. You're just competing. You come up the court, it's you versus the guy that's guarding you. And I got into a zone, and my teammates kept giving me the ball. And we had a player on our team by the name of Joe Barry Carroll who loved to shoot. And I knew I was doing well when Joe Carroll kept telling me to shoot the ball, don't pass it. And I said, okay, we're into something here. So, I mean, it was a great game. And I think having that kind of game against the Lakers meant so much more than having it against, the Phoenix Suns at that time or something like that. And being a playoff game, it gave it a lot more credence on their accomplishment. So it was a great accomplishment. We ended up losing the next game anyway up in LA. But just for that moment to take one game off the Lakers, you know, that was very challenging back then. I think they only lost 2 or 3 games the whole playoff series that year. Uh, uh, through the entire playoffs. So to be able to get one game off a great team as the Lakers, for a little Golden State team that was just trying to make a name for ourselves at the time, it really catapulted Golden State to gave them some building blocks where they can really turn the franchise around and make it become pretty much what it is today.
Yeah, like I said, yeah, you had a magnificent performance. Though, yeah, you still hold the record for the NBA playoffs. You scored 29 points in the quarter. You scored 39 in the whole half. And you scored 12 consecutive field goals in the fourth quarter, and you finished with 51 points. So,
that meant I wasn't passing much, right?
Yeah, you was on a mission, man. You doing your thing, right? So, your Houston career. Talk about your Houston career. What happened with that? What happened? Going to Houston. What took place with that? With Houston, going to Houston.
Right. So I got traded for a great player, Ralph Sampson. We all know how great he was before he had the knee injuries. He was ahead of his time. 7'4", could put the ball on the floor, could shoot threes at the time. So Ralph was really ahead of his time. So there was opportunity for Golden State to get Ralph and me to go. Houston really needed a point guard, someone that could score, penetrate, work with Akeem and Otis Thorpe and Roddy McRae. So we had a great team when I got traded to Houston. We had a lot of talent. Bill Fitch was the coach, I think, who just passed away recently. We were potent. I think Akeem and I were one of the 2 duos that scored over 40 points. Akeem, against the Dallas Mavericks, I think I had like 43 and Akeem had 40. And you had 2 players and, scoring 40 points on one team at the time was a record, which I don't think it is anymore. But that was a great experience. I've had the opportunity to play with some great centers, legendary centers. You look at Patrick Ewing. I played with Akeem Olajuwon, who some people think was the greatest center of all time. Then, eventually going down to San Antonio, playing with David Robinson. So I've always had an opportunity to play with some great centers. And the style of play was different than it is today because you went inside out first. You had to throw the ball inside and you shot threes once they pass it out. But see, now, the way the league offensively has trended is, shooting 3-pointers is pretty much your offense. So it was really hard for a guy like me who could really score. Not hard, but that's just the way we play. You pass it into the center, you pass it inside, he pass it out, and then you look for your opportunities to score. But never come down and just pull up a 3 and being able to do that. I would have loved to have been able to play that way because I could shoot threes. So, but playing with Akeem Olajuwon, man, what a competitor this guy was. He used to always want to play me one-on-one because before games, we would play one-on-one. We played the best 3 out of 5 every game because he would want to work on his quickness and his footwork. And, man, we would have some crazy one-on-one games before the game. You would think we were playing for a championship. And he was the kind of competitor that if it was tied up, Akeem would back you down and dunk on you just to win, knowing you couldn't stop him. I wore 180 pounds back then. So, but, yeah, playing in Houston was amazing. We had a great team, and having an opportunity to play with Akeem Olajuwon was amazing.
Okay, you brought that up about the 3-point shot. Yeah, I've been watching the playoffs, a lot of guys shooting threes. Like, do you think that's too oversaturated away from the in between game where a guy can shoot that mid range jumper from 15 feet? Because everybody can't be a Steph Curry, everybody can't be a Klay Thompson. There's too much emphasis on a 3-point shot. You think that's bad for the NBA or good for the NBA?
Well, it's definitely oversaturated because some of those guys cannot shoot threes. And I do not understand if you can't shoot threes at a decent percentage. Why are you shooting 10 threes a game? I don't understand that. I mean, I understand the analytics part of it and how it affects the game, but I agree with you. Everyone is not a Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or, Trey Young down in Atlanta. But you have these guys shooting threes that, I mean, I don't get it. I mean, our coaches coming up would have never allowed us to shoot a three. The only time we shot threes if we were down, right? It's the end of the quarter, or you were down by, a certain amount of points and you needed to try to shoot threes. But other than that, being able to have that as a central part of your offense where you're running plays to shoot threes, early in the shot clock, it's just a different game. The game is not as physical as it, during the time that I played. I'm not one of those old guys like our game was better. The difference between the two eras or the eras is the physicality that's allowed. I mean, when I came into the league, man, they would be holding and grabbing your jerseys. I mean, I had one guy pull my jersey my shorts all the way down, and the referee just looked at it. Guys would hand check you coming across the lane. Would lay you out. But that right now, it gets you thrown out of the game. Like some of the plays that say Draymond Green got kicked out of the game recently against Memphis. That was a normal play in the NBA. I mean, I don't know if he would have even got a foul for that back in the day, especially in the playoffs because they allow more physical play in the playoffs. So it's different now. I understand it's more entertaining. It's not the bad boy Pistons way of playing. Aesthetically, it's more pleasing to the eye to be shooting threes and not as physical. But, man, it was great. I love playing physical basketball. I mean, it was a challenge. Man. You're going across the lane against Akeem Olajuwon, and you think you're not going to get hit, and you're crazy. Or Patrick Ewing, or Charles Oakley, and those guys. I mean, you expected to get hit, and you didn't cry about it. But it's a different era. But back to the original point. I don't understand how they allow some of these guys to shoot threes. I mean, they're not even coming close. And if they hit one, I mean, it's a miracle. So